Hurricane Sandy causes thousands of dollars in dock damage here in Lake George. I'm David Storey. I've got details coming up. For the last 6 years, the Rogers building here in downtown Glens Falls has stood empty, but now a local developer is sending it a multi-million-dollar lifeline. Republicans have a big enrollment advantage in the North Country District, which of course could benefit Matt Doheny, but both candidates say they will be victorious come Tuesday. The 144th season of racing left the starting gate in Saratoga today, but by the end of this season, the biggest loser could be the agency that runs horse racing here in New York. Hurricane Sandy blew through our area overnight with winds of more than 40 miles per hour, turning the waters of Lake George into an angry ocean, lashing against the village docks. Yeah, we were down here early on, like I said, probably 4 o'clock or so. They were starting to pick up pretty good, and the spray was actually landing out on the road. It looked like the ocean, Yeah, it was pretty intense. The pressure of those waves crushing one of the village's public docks. The waves were pretty significant early on yesterday, even before we really had much of the storm here. The lake picked up. The waves were pretty intense, but really we didn't have a lot of damage anywhere near that we did for Irene. Last year when we had Irene, we lost almost all of our docks. This year we just had one that was damaged. Department of Public Works Chief David Harrington says the goal now is to find money to replace these damaged docks. He says it's not in the budget, but they're applying for grant funds. We're hoping to get them replaced in the spring. I know that the 3 that we put in were over $100,000, so probably in that neighborhood this year to replace the next 3. And you have that money in the budget? Well, no, actually, prior to this, we put in a grant application to the Department of State to have these docks replaced anyways after Irene, so we're still keeping our fingers crossed on that. Harrington says that his crew spent much of the day traveling around the village looking for other damage. The good news, it seems Lake George weathered the storm just fine. For CBS 6 News, I'm David Storey. For the last 6 years, the Rogers building here in downtown Glens Falls has stood empty, but now a local developer is sending it a multi-million-dollar lifeline. Outside, this building looks like it's in pretty good shape, but the interior tells a much different story, having stood empty for 6 years. Today, developer Peter Hoffman announced he has purchased the Rogers building, as well as the vacant building next door at 14 Maple Street.
Well, the building was built in 1927. So with that, there's asbestos component in the building that we'll have to have taken out, removed, and before anybody can really do any work on the building. And then the roofs all the way on down through will be demolished and fully put back together. The $3.5 million project will see both buildings completely gutted and then renovated into retail space on the ground floor and 37 apartments above. Ed Bartholomew is the City of Glens Falls Economic Development Director and welcomed the news that this building will soon bring a long-neglected downtown street corner back to life.
It would just be a vibrant corner. The location couldn't be more perfect across from City Park and Crandall Library. Looking at the Civil War monument right in the center of downtown, I think that Peter has indicated he doesn't feel he's going to have any difficulty in running the apartments, leasing the apartments out.
This is developer Peter Hoffman's 8th project in downtown Glens Falls, and he has seen the city come a long way during that time. He says that like Saratoga Springs to the city south, downtown is primed for development.
But I think the future of Glens Falls is very Saratoga-esque. Right now we're seeing the small shops come in, the independents. We have had some nationals come about, but the growth has been so positive. And all through 2008, where a lot of other cities and municipalities slumped, Glens Falls kept going and kept moving forward, and it's been a great progression.
Construction will start in the coming weeks and is expected to wrap up by May of 2013. In Glens Falls, for Look News, I'm David Storey. Incumbent Democratic Congressman Bill Owens was in Glens Falls Monday campaigning at a diner with Republican Assemblywoman Teresa Sayward.
I just feel for this area that Bill is the better candidate. He has a proven record on bringing jobs to the area.
Owens greeted voters inside Peter's Diner, a staple on South Street for over 50 years, as supporters of opponent Matt Doheny gathered outside. A little later in the day, they got a chance to cheer on their guy, who was joined by former Governor George Pataki.
This race reminds me so much of my first race when I ran for governor. Very close and very important. And Matt's message is what my message was. Give me a chance. We can do better. We need a new direction. And I completely agree. We can do better. We can do far better in Washington.
Doheny trailed Owens by just 1 point in the most recent poll. That same poll has the Green Party candidate with about 4% of the vote. But he has since thrown his support to Owens.
That was a surprise, I have to say, but we're delighted that he sees me as the person who is going to be the most reasonable in Congress and address all of the people's concerns.
Former President Bill Clinton also announced his endorsement for Owens Monday, recording a robocall for voters. However, Doheny doesn't feel Clinton's endorsement will be a factor.
Look, my opponent's been in office for 3 years. Since that time, we have 5,000 fewer jobs and $4 trillion more of spending. We have to go in a different direction, and I'm very simple. My final closing statement to everyone is, give me a chance.
Republicans have a big enrollment advantage in the North Country District, which of course could benefit Matt Doheny. But both candidates say they will be victorious come Tuesday. For Look News, I'm David Storey. The 144th season of racing left the starting gate in Saratoga today. But by the end of this season, the biggest loser could be the agency that runs horse racing here in New York. The New York Racing Association is running on its last legs as a state takeover looms. Governor Andrew Cuomo has all but promised to replace the current NYRA board after a wagering scandal saw bettors overcharged by $8.5 million and cost NYRA President Charlie Hayward his job. Ellen McLean is his replacement and holds the top job for now.
We've had some adversity and a lot of distraction, but there's nothing like tough times to keep you focused. And our team has been great. We went through the Belmont Stakes with a Triple Crown contest. There's nothing like that to absolutely focus you on what you have to do every day.
NYRA is coming off a year in which it lost $30 million, and as state leaders become more and more frustrated with the organization, it looks like the governor and legislative leaders could take the reins for the final 3 years off their franchise.
Come the end of the season, when the state does start to take a little closer look at NYRA, are you confident that yourself and some of the other people on the board will still have jobs with NYRA?
That is my expectation. You know, a lot of us have a real sense that there's opportunity for NYRA, that New York racing has a bright future. We think we have good ideas and the right approach to strategy. I look forward to sharing those ideas with the new board. I would be very surprised if there wasn't some continuity, because I think we have a great board. That's one of the reasons that I came to NYRA, because the board has a lot of very accomplished professionals.
A cloud hanging over NYRA's tenure as the state's horse racing franchise holder is nothing new. Governor Andrew Cuomo says that for the last decade it's been one problem after another. Despite those issues, NYRA's leadership as we know it in the Spa City is expected to end on a high note.
The meet is going to be successful. I think we can't help that. Great investment, great facility. The fans in Saratoga really support this program, so I think that it was going to be successful no matter what. As a management team, we're prepared to roll with whatever comes our way, but our job every day is to come in here and produce the races and make sure the wagering goes well, and that's what we'll do no matter what.
The governor and chairman of the NYRA Franchise Oversight Board, Richard Megna, says that they are working closely to ensure that the rich history of racing at Saratoga is preserved and that thoroughbred racing in New York is put back on the right track.